What's up, guys? It's Michael here. Today we're gonna look at another article stating how do they train entrepreneurs from the start. They gave out 5 ways for them to how to train entrepreneurs when they are born. So this is actually a really interesting topic is because a lot of people do not teach personal finance or in schools itself. They never taught you about that. They only taught you about how to get a job, go to school, get this certain degree, may work this degree is better for a job, but people haven't realized that degrees back then are really valuable because there weren't that many people with degrees. But today and age, we have so many people with degrees, it's not really special anymore. So we're gonna look at the 5 things that how to create an entrepreneur from the start, which by this article, CNBC, they apparently spoke to 70 different families who are entrepreneurs. And I'm gonna add some of my own juice to my own. So what's interesting is I agree with almost all of them, which is clicking the like button down below and a subscribe button. And also comment if you guys think there's some other things that you might think that might help an entrepreneur. So the first thing they stated is they always tell their kids when they're young age, which makes sense. They quoted, "I can't do everything for you," which, to break it down, which makes sense. It enforces the fact that you cannot always rely on the parent as for them to do everything for you. For example, washing clothes, doing dishes, brushing your teeth. I mean, the list goes on. It forces them the fact that, hey, you got to do some things your own. I'll help you out with some things, but I can't do everything your own, which is actually, I think, is a really great idea on training their children to think like, hey, not everything's got to be handed to me. I have to go out and get it myself. Number 2, this one is pretty interesting. I believe this has to go with more towards mental health. Number 2 is they say, do your best and be kind, which is sadly in this modern day society, number 2 is like basically not there. First, do your best. A lot of people won't do it because they take advantage of it. And be kind. I mean, if you look at mainstream media and other small media, be kind. That's an afterthought. Going down to number 3, if something doesn't work out, don't be sad. It may turn out to be a good thing later on. That is actually very true. So there is so many examples of this where that a lot of motivational speakers they never have a really good start. There's a lot of people start businesses. They never really do great in the beginning. It's happened all the time. It's whether what you take out of it. It's like the same saying is every failure is not considered a failure unless you think it is to be. A failure is a learning opportunity. So you take whatever you messed up on and you learn from it. What can you do better? So, for example, if you start a business, you're losing money for the first year and you made $0. Instead, you lost money, which in cases happens to a lot of people, including myself. Which is what you can do is what did you learn from that? What can you do to make your product or service more enviable to people, make people look more into it, make people want to buy your product? That is what you call turning failures into success, learning from them. I completely agree with them, which I believe a lot of people should learn. And how I mentioned how schools doesn't teach this, because when you fail a paper, you fail an essay, you fail a test, the teacher just gives it to you and you're basically on your own. You basically think like, hey, you didn't study hard enough. Hey, that's your fault for not trying hard enough. Well, which is true, but in the same time is what type of reward for it? What can you learn from it? For example, what I learned from it is doing homework, doing tests might not, really reflect what I do in the future, which apparently a lot of teachers, like basically, I'll be blunt, almost 0 teachers know about this. If teachers knew about this, then they wouldn't be teaching, which in reality, that is true. But going down to number 4, looking at what they say, how to build an entrepreneur by teaching your children these phrases, which is they say, what is the best and the worst thing that happened today? Which is reflecting, how I see it is reflecting what do they do today. So what's the best thing that happened today and what's the worst thing? So you look at the best thing that happened. So there's a couple ways to look at it. When you look at the best thing, that means you forget about the bad things and you look at the best thing that made you happy today. The worst thing is, whatever the worst thing, for example, maybe you got hurt or you got injured, then you can see that as the worst thing. But you can look at the worst thing is when you got hurt and injured, maybe there's a problem right there to be solved. So you can take that as a learning opportunity For example, a lot of people play this game called PGR, Punishing Gray Raven. They're rolling for character, spending money on this gambling game. And what's the good thing? They got the character. What's the bad thing? They waste a lot of money, which they could have bought other things, Matt. So in that case, what do they learn? They can learn that they don't have to play this. They can quit and maybe, for example, create videos for the game instead of spending a single dollar and earning money from it instead. That is like one example they could have been doing. But, going down the list, it goes for everything. So, for example, buying a car. Maybe you don't have to buy such an expensive vehicle. Maybe you can buy a cheaper vehicle. Maybe when you deal with a middleman while buying a different brand or manufacturer, you can learn something from it. That when dealing with them, you can do other things. For example, if you're buying a house, you really want this house, but at the same time it's not fit for you, but you still want it. If you take a few steps back and think about it, it might not be the best time for you to buy, no matter what your real estate agent says. There's a lot of real estate agents, they're there to make money off of you. Just to be real or not, if they want to help you, they will tell you to back off if they were in your shoes. And going through the last one, which one, same thing as one I reference in number 2. Number 5 that CNBC says for how entrepreneurs are developing at a young age, the parents like to say to their children, telling them is, I love you. Meaning it gives them emotional compassion. It gives them a sense of familiarity, meaning that the children doesn't feel left out. They don't feel like their parents isolate them. Doesn't feel like their parents like to do other things. Doesn't feel like their parents abuse them. I mean, it's a lot of things, but just saying those 3 simple words really help them brighten their mood up, which, I agree with them, because when a lot of parents say, or the parents say that to you when you're younger, don't you realize you feel different, you feel more happy, you feel like they care. But, based on what they say, entrepreneurs have to basically love almost everything and everyone. It's very difficult. If you're in their shoes, it's very difficult. You get customers that are really horrible, and you get customers that are really good. But just by saying that to your children, lets them understand is you got to get the customers. Like, there are good customers, which you can know off right off the bat, and there are bad customers that you really know off the bat. But the ones that you really want, there's a lot of them in there, is the ones in the middle, neutral. By treating them with respect and basically treating it as a business and helping them out. For example, they buy a product, it came out as a defect. You can give them a refund or give them a replacement. So basically, if they have a problem, they ask you a question, just, be that nice guy. They might, people might take advantage of you, but just in that case, you might crash into those people that really become your fan base, will always buy your product. Just look at Apple and Android. Look at Intel and AMD. Look at those big manufacturing brands. Why do they have such a base, a fanboy base to the point? So that is one of the reasons why they're able to develop that type of entrepreneurial mindset, is because these 5 things are the main things how they train their children from the start. There's one more thing I want to add in their list is the best way to do it, to train their children as an entrepreneur, is to be the example of it, meaning a real life example. So if you want to be an entrepreneur and your job, for example, you work in Starbucks, but you have to realize that you work in Starbucks. If you want to train your children to be an entrepreneur, you have to be one yourself. Basically, seeing it is the biggest change in letting them understand, like, hey, this is how it works. Some people learn it not just through textbooks. They learn it through experience. I think that's the biggest thing. Through experience, through seeing it, and also through feeling it, using your 5 senses. For example, like I mentioned, you're in Starbucks, you want to start a business. So instead of working for Starbucks, you learn all their techniques and drinks, and you develop your own drink. You start your own business. You sell your own products online. And you have children in the future, they see it. They learn, it's like, hey, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to think. You have to think outside the box. So I hope you guys found this video very informative. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.